You're welcome to my channel. My name is Akinwale Akindiya. I will be speaking on auditing business continuity management. Please subscribe to my channel so that you can enjoy more training videos from me. Well, the pandemic that happened in 2020 and the lockdown globally that occurred, it has become very clear that every organization needs a business continuity plan that works. And because of that, the audit department, both internal and external, uh, have to do what is required to be able to gain assurance that the business is ready for eventuality. So we'll be looking at the key areas that the audit function should be looking at when they are auditing business continuity. So we look at the relevant standard or framework. Remember, we have five elements of assurance engagement, and one of the five elements of assurance engagement is the suitable criteria. There must be a benchmark that we're going to use to audit business continuity. So we have number one, ISO 22301, that is the standard on business continuity management system. Then we can also use COVID 2019. There are sections in COVID 2019 objectives, management objectives that specifically address business continuity management. So as auditors, you can use either of these standard or framework to perform your audits. Now, what are the key audit areas you are supposed to focus on? Number one, is there a business continuity policy? So we can start from that. Does the business have a business continuity policy? If yes, who approved it? Approver. It's very important that a business continuity policy is approved by the highest level of management in the organization, be it the board of directors or the executive management. Then we should also be concerned about the contents, all right, the coverage of the business continuity policy. What does it cover? So you expect that the business continuity policy will address the philosophy of management, the intent of management, the expectations of management as regards business continuity in that organization. Then number three, you also will check for review. Is the business continuity policy constantly reviewed? So at least annually, there should be an annual review of the business continuity policy. Then updates based on the review. If there's a need to update the business continuity policy, then we should do that. The version control. We don't want the situation where we have three versions in circulation at the same time, two versions in circulation at the same time. So there must be version control, and there must also be change management in the changes that will be happening in those versions. So then we look at the business continuity plan itself. Who developed the plan? All right. In many organizations, you have the business continuity plan being developed by maybe IT or by risk management. Okay, it shouldn't be done by a unit alone. It has to be done in a composite manner. So you need to have a cross-functional team from various departments to come and together to share knowledge to develop the business continuity plan. Then you will also be concerned about the scope of the business continuity plan. In several ISO 22301 implementation I have seen, most of the time the scope is the physical headquarter of the organization. So what happens outside the headquarter, in the regional branches, in the remote branches, do they have the same culture? Do they have the same practice? Do they have the same processes? So the scope is very, very important. Then again, in terms of applications and business processes covered, you also want to ensure that the critical processes and critical applications have been covered. So a business continuity plan that did not cover your key processes, that did not cover your key applications, it will not work. But because the day there will be disaster, you will discover that you are still exposed despite your business continuity planning. So we also look at business impact analysis as auditors. So we look at the purpose of the business impact analysis. The idea behind business impact analysis is for us to be able to, number one, determine the key processes, the key business processes. Number two, determine the key applications supporting those processes. Then number three, determine the recovery time objective and the recovery point objective. So I want to look at how did they develop the business impact analysis document? How did they come across it? Did they just do copy and paste from the internet? All right, or is it just one department that developed it? So I want to see evidence that there is input from the key departments or groups in that organization. I want to see that all the key processes have been captured, all the key applications have been captured. Then I want to check the reality, okay, the reliability of the RTO and the RPO that were set for the key processes and the key applications in that organization. Then, like I said, we look the RTO, the recovery time objective, will be set when we are doing the VRA. So the recovery time objective is acceptable downtime. How long can an application be done or a process be done before we start suffering losses that are unbearable, that are beyond our residual threshold? So you as an auditor, you want to determine how you want to get evidence. Okay, how did they come across that figure? I mean, the time, the sex for the RTO, is it adequate? So if you tell me that this particular server, the RTO is 1 hour, I want to ask, how did you arrive at the 1 hour? Is it the business? Is it the owner, the asset owner that gave you the information? Did you query the asset owner? Did you ask for what they use that particular server to do? Do you ask what happens if the server is down for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, for 30 minutes, for 45 minutes? To actually test whether the business, the asset owner that gave you information understand what you mean by recovery time objective. So as auditor, you want to check that the recovery time objective is adequate. Then you want to also check the scope. How many applications, how many processes, how many technology were covered by the recovery time objectives that have been documented. Then we look also at the recovery point objective as auditor. So the recovery point objective is the acceptable data loss. How long can we lose data before there is a problem? Okay, so there are some systems or some environments that if you lose the data for 1 second or 1 minute, there will be trouble. So you know that in a situation like that, you should be looking at synchronous backup, okay, like mirroring. So there are some industries and sectors that they can have recovery point objective up to 1 day, 24 hours. So the technology of backup will be less expensive compared to where the RPO is very, very low. So as auditors, we want to check, okay, what is the minutes they've set for the RPO? What's the hours they've set for the RPO? Is it adequate based on the kind of data that is being generated or is being used in that process or in that application? So I want to check that adequacy. I want to check the scope of the applications and processes covered. So I also want to look at the recovery site, the permanent recovery site, the geographical location. Is it too close to the production center? If it is too close, that means environmental disasters that the production center is exposed to, those the alternative site will also be exposed to the same kind of disaster. So you don't want that to happen. So the recovery site should be a bit far from the primary site, but it shouldn't be too far also because of accessibility. I also want to ask whether it is vendor owned or business owned. If it is business owned, you have more control. Okay, but if it is vendor owned, then that means there might be further audit questions. Okay, I want to see the contract papers. I want to see whether you have checked, for example, priority considerations. What about if two or three uh, vendors of that, two or three clients of that vendor have emergencies at the same time and they arrive at the alternative sites at the same time? So who will have priority? So all those concerns, I want to check compatibility of equipment with the vendor owned platforms. I also want to confirm all that, all those considerations. Okay, then I want to look at the recovery alternative, whether it is adequate. Did they did they pick a mirror site? Did they pick the hot site, a cold site, a warm site? So I want to look at the kind of processes they have, their RTO, then determine whether they are chosen right in terms of the recovery alternative, that recovery strategy they picked. Okay, so if the RTO is up to 5 days, I should be looking at a cold site. So if the recovery time objective is up to like 3 days, 72 hours, I'm looking at the warm site. So I want to compare the recovery time objective with the recovery strategy they picked, whether it's is adequate or not. Okay, I also want to audit management commitments. That is one of the requirements of ISO 2301. For business continuity management to work, okay, management must be committed. Management must be committed. So I want to look at the minutes of the board of directors, whether there are discussions on business continuity issues. I want to look at, is there somebody appointed as business continuity manager? That will show seriousness. Okay, even if they are not implementing as one, I want to see a particular senior person in that organization that has a responsibility for business continuity management. Then I want to see budget commitment. I want to see their budget and see that yes, funds have been allocated for business continuity management. Then I want to see evidence of management review, either quarterly or annually or twice in a year. I want to see that there are documentations to show that management has been reviewing the business continuity management system in that organization. I also want to check the internal audit adequacy and response in terms of business continuity management. So I want to see evidence that the internal auditors have been trained on business continuity. It's not just finding looking for flaws, looking for errors. Business internal audit is more than that. It's about sustainability of the business. It's about achievement of the business goals. All right. So I want to see evidence that the internal auditors have been taught on ISO 22301. I want to see evidence they've been taught on business continuity. I want to see evidence they've been taught on disaster recovery. I want to see evidence they've been taught on exercise and testing, so and so on and so forth. So I want to look at the audit calendar for this year of the internal audit department and see whether they have days or weeks allocated to audit of business continuity in that organization. I want to see the quality of exceptions they have raised, all right, in the audit working papers, whether the exceptions, are valid and whether, they resonate with the requirements of the relevant standard. I want to also look at for evidence of follow-up. So after they raised exceptions, do they go back to check whether their recommendations have been implemented? So I will check for this when I'm reviewing, when I'm auditing internal audits. Very important exercises and tests. I also want to get evidence whether they are doing business continuity tests. Because one thing to have business continuity plan, but if the plan is not being tested, the day there will be actual disaster, you might not be ready. Okay, so I want to look at the BCMS calendar, whether they have uh, time dedicated to test the business continuity plan. I want to see evidence of past tests. So I want to see evidence of past tests, maybe results of those tests, the attendance of the people involved, and the rest. I want to see the scope of the test. Is it every time they want to do business continuity test? It's just always fire drill. Okay, that's what is most common in many organizations. It's just fire drill all the time. Okay, what about recovery? Okay, can you recover a database? Can you recover a particular set of data? Can you recover an application? So all those, if the network goes down, can you, how many minutes or how many, seconds will it take IT to be able to recover? If a particular application failed, will the failover work? Okay, or is it until it happens before you know whether the failover will work or not? So I want to see the scope of tests that have been done. And I want to see involvement of stakeholders in the test. Is it only IT that is just involved? I want to see involvement of finance. I want to see involvement of HR. I want to see involvement of other departments to show that there is commitment by everybody. Then I want to see evidence of remediation of gaps that have been observed during the test. When you are doing the test, yeah, you will see some areas where maybe in terms of competence, maybe in terms of infrastructure, all right, so there will be gaps. So I want to see evidence that those gaps are being addressed. So another key audit area in this CMS, I want to review the backup procedures. So what is the frequency of backup? We went for an audit some time ago. The day we got to the organization to start auditing, we checked their backup register. That was the first time they did backup in how many months? Just because auditors have come. So I want to see the frequency of the backup, whether it is being done regularly and whether it is tied to the recovery point objective. I want to see the type of backup technology they are using, okay, and see whether it is justified based on the recovery point objective. I want to see the location of backup tapes. That is also very, very important. Okay, so where you have a production server in a building, then you have the backup server maybe in the second floor of the same building. Yeah, what is the essence of backup? Because both the production and the backup server are subject to the same environmental disaster. So I want to see the location of the backup tapes. I want to see restoration tests. So it's not just enough to just begin a backup. Have you been doing tests to discover whether you can get the data back from the backup tapes? So that is also an evidence I will be looking for. Then I want to look at the recovery procedures that they have applied in the business continuity plan. Okay, because very, very important that when you have the business continuity procedures, in case of failure, in case of disruption, disaster, emotions are always quite high. You can see a lot of stress, a lot of anger, a lot of emotions, even fear could be present among the people that are doing the procedures in a real life situation. So you need, I always advise that documentation be as detailed as possible. Don't assume that, oh, it's an expert that will be doing it. But remember that the experts will be under stress in a situation like that. So, and under pressure, people can start making avoidable mistakes. So I want to see detailed documentation of recovery procedures so that whoever is doing the procedures will just be looking at those procedures documentation just like a checklist. Okay, so I want to look at information assets that are covered. I want to look at details of the procedures, like I said. I want to see the distribution of the copies. Is it just in head office or you have a backup copy in the battle box somewhere offsite? Okay, then I want to see whether there is evidence that those procedures have been tested to determine whether it's going to work or not. Then I want to see evidence of updates. If your enterprise architecture changes, then of course your recovery procedure should also change. So I want to see evidence of those updates also. Then your core trees. Core trees are what people may ignore, but it's very, very important. People that will respond in the day of adversity. So we need to have their names, we need to have their departments, we need to have their current phone numbers. All right. So I want to see that the list is complete. Everybody that we need, their names and phone numbers are in that country. I want to see the currency of the country. That is, the phone numbers are current. Not that some people have resigned, or some people are not longer using the phone numbers listed earlier. So I want to test the currency of the contacts. All right. Then I want to see evidence that the country is being tested for currency and readiness. Okay, so basically these are the some of the audit areas that an auditor should look at when you are developing the audit program for business continuity management systems. Once again, my name is Akinwale Akindia. Please subscribe to my channel so that you'll be able to enjoy more training videos from me. Thank you.